What is good, YouTube? It is your boy Hybrid back with another video, and this time we're gonna do a little bit different. This time, instead of a gameplay, we're gonna do more of a discussion type of video. And I feel like there's no other person I would rather bring to do this than the newest kid on the block who's been blowing up on everybody's feed. The man's name is Mr. RiderShade.
Hey, howdy. Thanks for having me.
Always, man. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and play with you, man. But today I really wanted to just like get your input on like I personally feel like PvP is kind of dying out, and I'm trying to figure out why that is.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think there's a lot of different things that go into what is killing the people who are already playing PvP, but also that's preventing people from getting further into the scene.
For me, I feel like maybe the most important thing why they're not playing is maybe like the toxicity of PvP.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot to discuss with toxicity, not to make this like an hour-long video, so I'm going to try to talk about one point specifically. I think ego plays a huge part into PvP. And so what I mean by that is you have a lot of these experienced players who really pride themselves on what they know, and they don't want that information getting out. So people are familiar with the term gatekeeping, for example.
Hmm.
So I think one of my thesis statements for my life as a PvPer is basically to spread as much information as possible, because honestly, when you get into it, when you're wanting help, not a lot of people are there to give you support. And I think that to me is one of the biggest issues.
Hmm. I'm with you. I feel like I don't know why it is we feel like the best players feel like it's a big kept secret when we all know we're pretty much running the same stuff. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
that like you didn't find a magical set that no one has ever ran before. So it's like, what is the purpose of hiding information about it? Is I guess would be my big question.
Yeah, exactly. And especially because, we all have the same set of access to information. It's just about who has more time. And so there's that privilege of how much time that you have to play the game is ultimately the dictating factor as to how good you are. And I wish that wasn't true. I wish I could say a lot of the skill in the game came from how much time you put into it. And that definitely is true. And there's a lot of nuance to learn with it. But ultimately, I think no matter what part of ESO you play in, I think it's really just a knowledge gap that prevents a good player, or sorry, a bad player from becoming a good player.
Hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of the toxic PvPers do, is they don't let people join them in the end game.
Hmm. I feel like we all started somewhere. I mean, I don't want to throw the Z word around, but we all know that those people who run in around in big groups. I feel like we all started there, but it seems
Yeah.
like the top tier players we kind of like shun those for being in a big group. But like at the same time, it's like let's what are they really gonna learn if they're coming out here solo and just getting ran through by the top tier players?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're not going to learn through anything. And I talked to E-Man about this at some other point, that to start the game, you need to start tanking and survivable. But I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of players start in these ball groups or these larger zergs. And there's a lot of derogatory language directed towards them. But I
Hmm.
think you're right. I think they're just learning. And I think people would rather point fingers and separate audiences and saying these are the bad players and we are the good players,
Hmm.
but they don't actually really care about the health of the game. And I think again that's leading to the decline of it, because you have all these players who want to branch out and try more,
Yeah.
who've only been in ball groups, but they don't know how to 1vx. They don't know how to go do solo builds or anything like
Hmm.
that, for
Like,
sure.
like if we notice, like every PvP event, it seems to be packed. So I don't think it's the fact that people
Right.
don't want to play. I think they just don't know where to even start at. And like your channel is a great place. Like I've seen you're showing
For
everybody
sure.
like how to do it from scratch. But I feel like we need more of. But I feel like so many people are just trying to gatekeep them. Like you're complaining a game's dying, but you're not doing anything to help people get into it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of one of my larger concerns with the game, is there's definitely like a lot of lacking educators. I think because the game is kind of, going back to my point, is so filled with ego, I think a lot of people would rather be perceived as I am the wisest of them all. You will follow my build, and that is the end of the story.
Hmm.
I know that's not people's intentions, but I definitely don't think that's the intention, but I definitely think that's the outcome.
So I'm like, how do we? I know like we have the PvP tutorial, which is pretty much just like, hey, go shoot this siege. It's like, what would be another way to be like, hey, this is how fundamentally PvP works? Because really, let's be honest, like even the tutorial does not explain like the importance of taking castles. It's literally just, hey, shoot this siege, repair it, and this is a scroll.
Yeah, I think they need to explain the use of a front bar and back bar. I mean, starting with
Yes.
something as basic as that, the game doesn't teach you to have one defensive bar and one offensive bar.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think if we had a vendor at the start of Cyrodiil when you first poured into it, I think if they had a vendor saying Cyrodiil Vengeance front bar set, or like something really easily named. That would immediately guide players, even though it's not quite holding their hand, which we could get into if that's important or not. But I think it would give them an idea of, okay, I need to be able to survive more than in PvE, because a lot of people have issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there also does need to be PvP tutorials. I really do. I don't know what form that would take. Maybe there needs to be something on a combo, or I really don't know. I want to make it less content creator based and more in-game based, because unfortunately I think a lot of content creators like myself have to leverage what the game is lacking. I mean, that's kind of what my entire channel is based on, is
Yeah,
the game is not teaching you, so I have to. And
exactly.
that kind of feels bad. I wish I didn't have to make content to help people,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I wish people just knew.
Like for my like what just popped in my head when you say that is like, how would you feel like, say they made a battlegrounds, but it's like bot generate, like there's bot enemies to learn off of.
Oh, I think people would really enjoy that. Honestly, I think I would too, just being able to test it with a less variable environment.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that's a really good idea, True. I think having bots being able to pressure you using class abilities, maybe you have like a Dragonite bot, for example,
Mm-hmm.
teaching you the combos and all that stuff, and how you can actually die pretty quickly if you're not paying attention.
Like I can even see where you can even spin that off, and hey, here's, because they, everybody knows Elder Scrolls loves their crown store. They love it. Even if you threw like a companion in there that's like, hey, this is a PvP
Oh
companion,
yeah,
and you can dictate, you want him to be an aggressive one, or do you want him to be a mid grade, or do you want him to be a super tanky one? So then people can actually have a chance to test builds out, test their combos without the overwhelmingness of you're about to get either Zerg down, or you're just gonna get obliterated by someone who's been playing since the
yeah.
games came out.
I think you're touching on one of the biggest points for my concerns with PvP and a lot of people's, is that there's a lot of sensory overload going on with the game. So even if you wanted to learn a specific thing, there's way too much happening. It can feel really chaotic even learning it. So I think, yeah, I think if we isolated the tutorial section to a companion or a bot filled battleground or a dummy of some sort to help players learn the rotation, when to defend, I think that would be really helpful for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think that's really good for the game's health, because the more diverse of activities that you have, the more engaged a player is going to be,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you think, if you were, someone was coming into PvP, like what would be your ideal, let's just say, group size that you think someone's gonna learn the most of? For me, I've always been a firm believer like 2 to 4 is the best that you're gonna learn things at. But at that,
Mhm.
when you get outside of that, it's kind of like you get lost in the mix. You don't really know what you're doing, but you're
Yeah.
just here in the group.
So I think a lot of different perspectives will tell you different numbers of players. So I have some bias with my answer. So I'm a dueler at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dueling for a few years now, just living in Stormhaven and then going out to Icy. So I'm actually pretty fresh to Cyrodiil. I don't participate in groups often, to be honest with you, and I can say for certainty that dueling will actually teach you a lot that group settings won't ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
I think dueling, if you have a good partner who is competent in the game, they will teach you and be able to point out to you where you were at fault, if you were realizing your burst window or not, if you're playing too defensive, what your build needs adjusting. But unfortunately, again, this relies on someone to be competent at the game to teach you. And I really don't want my piece of advice to be like, get someone who is already good.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I kind of think you need a tutor in this game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I perfectly agree with that. I feel like you have to, because the game doesn't teach you much. So you have to know someone who does know it. And I'm sorry, it sucks that how that's
Right.
how it has to be. But like that's what we have guilds for. That's what we have channels like yours. Like I don't have a problem if someone was like, hey, I want to start PvP. Would you mind if you wanted to come play with me? I don't mind taking someone into my wing.
Right.
I think that would be a great opportunity for me to like take a step back and okay, how do I explain what's become second nature to me, but explain it in layman terms for everybody else.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's where the importance of having educators playing games are. So, as a background, my career path is going to be a college professor soon,
Mm,
and so I've been in education for about 7 years at this point, and I think education is probably the single most important thing to me. So, I'm very fortunate to have that experience going into it. But again, the game is only benefiting from my content because the game isn't already having that educator passion within the game's development. And I just wish that we had more educators behind the scenes making the game accessible to players and explaining things like second nature, like you're saying, to the player base. I really do. I wish we just had more teachers playing, basically.
yeah, I'm with you on that. 100%. I feel like it's time to kind of take the ego hats off and like let's try to rebuild the PvP population in whatever way that we can.
Right. I think, I really want to like go on that point for a second of taking the ego hats off. I honestly feel like there's a lot of people who appeal to those with ego to try to appease them,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately we are a very introverted community, and it's not derogatory in any way. It is. And I think a lot of people are afraid of upsetting each other in a lot of ways. I think at the very end of it with the top end toxic players, honestly, even then they have their cliques of this person is better than this person, so we're all going to be their friend versus another group of friends who say they're better. You just have like a multiple friend groups who all say that they're the best,
Mm-hmm.
and that's preventing a lot of information from being shared. So I think
Absolutely.
honestly, if we as a community battled that, if we stood together and say, no, we're tired of the gatekeeping, let's just share everything we know, I think the game will be better. I think the PvP scene will be less toxic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to have a lot less of those clicks that we see right now that really kind of are a huge detriment to the game, that add to that toxicity that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think everybody's just like everybody is the big fear of, oh, I'm gonna get clipped. Like I don't. I think it's across
Mm-hmm.
every game
Yeah.
now. It's like people are so afraid of like losing, but like you get the respawn. It's not like you didn't lose anything. Which I know it sucks. Like
Yeah.
y'all, even when I'm live streaming or I'm playing, like I die all the time. Everybody dies. You're going
Right.
to die, no matter what build you think you have. It's gonna eventually you're gonna run into either a group that's bigger than you or someone that's bigger than you. And that's with life too. No matter what you do, someone's always gonna be ahead of you.
Right. Right. And I kind of think on that note of clipping, again, we go back to ego. I think people are only afraid of getting clipped because there is so much ego. There are so many small circles of people who talk about other
Mm-hmm.
people. I think, again, if we just kind of ignore that as a community and just say, like, let's just share information, let's just have a good time and everybody be nice, I don't think anybody's going to care about getting clipped
Yeah,
eventually. I
I don't
really
think
do. But
so.
it does take a lot of work from the community to get to that point. It requires you to be brave to say, I don't care about this. Let's move on and just play the game.
Absolutely. I feel like we have a lot of content creators. We don't really we don't show our losses as much as I feel like we probably should.
Yeah, I will say firsthand, I agree. I am in that boat.
Like I'm slowly like starting to put out like, hey, I'll die 3 times in a row before I get a kill sometimes. Like it happens. Like but
Yeah,
I can't just show a highlight every time or every short can be a highlight, but I don't show any times I've lost. And now you're making it seem like you're perfect and now everybody wants to be like that. Like no, there's trials and tribulations with this still too.
yeah. Now I will say I think there are some exceptions to that, right? I think if you're putting out like a build video, I think you don't want to show how bad your build is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are dying a lot on that build, maybe you should refine that before you put it out.
Yep.
So I think I think there's a lot of this genuine behavior around how good players are, especially with their performance of videos. I mean, going back to like you saying people get clipped. I mean, I've seen ego battles online where people say, "Oh, I killed them 1,000 times. They've killed me once," and people say, "I
Yep.
disagree. It's the other way around." It's like, who cares?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't.
you know,
Come on, we all once we log out this game, we're not thinking about anybody that we already saw online.
Especially this meta where anybody can one shot each other. I think
Yeah,
it matters even less who gets clipped, and I think people really need to remember that.
absolutely. This meta is all over the place. But like to pivot, like what you said about builds, like my brother used to play. I think whoever knows my channel remembers Monty, and like I was talking to him, I was like, why don't you PvP anymore? Why don't you play Elder Scrolls anymore? He's like, for me, I feel like because I haven't played. He's like 8. He's like 1200 CP on console.
Okay,
And he's like,
yeah.
he just feels like he's so far behind when it comes to gear. So I just wanted to touch on like, do you feel like some people
Uh,
feel like they're behind on gear wise because they don't have the latest mythics, they don't have the latest monster
yeah.
sets, so they feel like they wouldn't even stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a universal problem across the game. So that, I guess for anybody listening who doesn't know, so I'm a really strong PvEer, and I'm PvP as well. So I am speaking from both perspectives of the game. I think gear gap and knowledge gap, they're tied, and I think it has always been a problem since I've been playing this game. I think if you stop playing for a month or two, you have no idea what's meta because the way Zoss balances things are very hard nerfs to kill it, and new thing is good. I think there are fortunately some great PvP sets that anybody can use, and I think that will get you about 80% of the way to start. I don't think your builds can really rely on just old things really well. There are some exceptions, like a player like E-Man, for example. He uses all old gear and it works very well. He is also an outlier. He's a very exceptional player. I think for the average player, I think they feel that gear gap a lot, and I think that is absolutely apparent from month to month. Even in update 47, when we get new gear, I anticipate one of those sets, and I'm not going to be held to a quote to say which one, is going to be very strong in PvP next patch.
Mm-hmm.
For those who aren't keeping up with the patch notes, they are going to fall behind. Once you get accustomed to update 46, update 47 is out, and now you're already at a disadvantage to other players.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes too much to keep up, honestly.
Like I've never been a PvEers. I've always been to PvP since it pretty much came out, but I've never been one to look at the patch notes. I'm the person like the new game come out, the new patch comes out, okay, we're gonna just try and see whatever works.
Yeah.
So it's like I've always been kind of true and tried to like, hey, I know what numbers I like to hit on my character sheet, and I kind of run with those.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good way to look at it. And I think that's a really good piece of advice for anybody listening who doesn't already do that. So, True, could you actually go into explaining what you mean by that?
So like for my character sheet, like I know for a fact, hey, I am not big on blocking. I've never been that way. I've been a 2H and bow main for the longest time. So all I know is dodge rolls. So like for me, I know I'm gonna need more stam. Like I know you got KOGs out there and you have E-mans who have no problem running with like 800 stam regen. I wouldn't dare do it. Same thing with health. Like
Yeah.
me, I know I need to be around a certain amount because I like to play a little bit. I'm a defensive player, so like I like to try to catch
Yeah.
you slipping. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit of extra health, so I just have a little bit of breathing room. But I'm not the guy that's gonna go for I need 9k weapon damage because I'm gonna wait for you to slip up and make a mistake somewhere, and that's where I'll fit in. But it's like
Okay.
some people
Yeah.
chase stats too much. Like, well, why am I losing? I have 30k resistances and 40k health. But like you didn't realize that. Yeah, the stats look good, but what does your vigor tooltip look like? You're sitting at a 15.
Right.
It's not your
Right.
resistance is not gonna help you with that.
Yeah, 100%. I think people like kind of what you're saying, like tunnel vision on what the paper says, and not really just. I think it's honestly making it overcomplicated. And this is coming
Mm-hmm.
from somebody who runs numbers all day. Again, for both PvE and PvP, all I do is run things with build editor, run ESO logs, run through comment metrics, and honestly, a lot of the sets are balanced to give you the same numbers. If I'm being 100% honest with you, they have different effects and they have different ways of activation. But ultimately, yeah, if you just try to pick a direction and go with it, a lot of the build is just going to match up.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I mean, I'm running a medium and light, but I'm also hitting 30k resistances. I'm specifically not caring what my resistances are going to be because I know they're going to be about 30k anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're off by a little bit, I can adjust. Yeah,
Exactly.
so I think number chasing is a really big misconstrued idea in ESO that there are a lot of numbers. And again, I do talk about number chasing a lot, but I would not sweat it nearly as much as just thinking about your overall direction for the build.
Yeah, I think people are just. I think we hone in too much on the character sheet and just those numbers. We never look at the actual
Right.
numbers of what the skills are saying. That's what really matters.
Right.
Your character sheet
Right.
says, yeah, but okay, but yeah, you have 7k weapon damage. Your dizzy swing still only says like 11k. Like you
Yeah.
kind of got to
Yeah.
match the two. You got to find the balance between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that kind of makes me think about people who are really upset by gear choices. So today I put out basically what I think to be a meta set, not the meta set, but a very meta setup of using Null Arca. I've got some mean comments saying, like, you're ruining the game. Everybody's going to be using procs, all this stuff. I don't think procs are the issue. I don't know if you agree or disagree with this. I think a good player will always beat a worse player. I think
Yes.
that gap has shrunk, and I think that's what's frustrating players is that now worse players are closing that gap.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't personally think procs are the problem. I think they can be annoying to play against if you use like something like Snake in the Stars, Slodes, and Jarrals. Yeah,
Yes.
but you can still beat it. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to think about it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you think procs are a problem? Do you think they're not?
So
Where are we at?
I think the only time I've ever had a problem with procs was I don't know if you were PvPing at the time, but like way back in the day when like Viper Sting and all these would hit you at the same time, and there
Oh,
was
sure.
absolutely no counterplay. That was really probably
Yeah.
the only time I've ever had a problem with procs. And like nowadays, do I fight a lot of Gerald builds with the Necro and the DK? Yeah, and it hurts a lot. And I even have a
Yeah.
clip of me getting beat by it, but I also have a clip of me beating it.
Right.
So it's
Exactly.
like every fight's gonna be different. If we all wore the same sets, it'll be boring. So like the fact that hey, well, this person's running slows. Like I haven't seen a slowed set in like 2 years. So I applaud them for at
Yeah.
least reaching deep and trying to come up with something. I do applaud that. But I
Yeah,
don't personally have a
absolutely.
problem with procs. If you can't be mad at procs such as Viper, but then you're okay with running procs like Essence Thief, or you're okay with running this proc. Like you can't have it both ways. Either you want no
Yeah.
procs at all, or you want procs.
What do you think about the Vengeance campaign? Do you think it's a healthy choice for the game, or do you think it's not a healthy choice for the game?
This is a tough one because, like, for me personally, just because of how long I've been playing the game, it's difficult for me. It's very slow paced for me, but I see where it's great at. But at the same time, I feel like the fact that you're giving like the 70k health and stuff, I kind of feel like it's giving a confusing message because now people are gonna think, well, hey, maybe if I just come in with a bunch of health, I'll be fine.
Right.
So I feel like
Okay.
there's still gotta. I feel like Vengeance is on the right track, but I feel like they gotta fine tune a couple more things. Like maybe even,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the next Vengeance campaign, hey, everybody has access to their regular skills, but we're not gonna do any proc test. We're gonna do just straight up, hey, if you're gonna run Magicka, you're gonna be kind of like in a Spriggan setup. Or yeah, is it Spriggan? No, Spinners. You'll be like in a Spinner setup. If you're like in Stamina, you're gonna be more of like a Spriggan type of setup.
Okay. Okay. So, like, would you want sets in Vengeance? Like some sets or no?
If I did, I would do just purely stat-based sets.
Okay.
So like the old school
Interesting.
Hunting Rages or the Spriggans, the Bone Pirates, the Seducers. Like, I'm cool with all those type of sets. I don't want to see sets like we said, like the Slows and stuff in Vengeance, because I feel like it's not giving a proper indication of how PvP really should be.
Right. And honestly, I think they could. Well, let me first address this part. So yeah, so for me, I'm actually like a really strong advocate against Vengeance personally. I think a lot of the appeal of ESO upon launch and throughout the years has been building and playing your way. And when we sanitize the game, which I think is a much larger issue for an entirely different video,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that when we keep sanitizing the game, it keeps killing the skill expression from it personally. So, I mentioned earlier, a lot of the skill is what you know, but to a point that could actually be really fun. And that could actually, like, you can feel rewarded for how much you know. I think it is to an unhealthy degree right now. But I think if we discover in Vengeance, this is the best, it does the most damage, hardest to kill, which I do anticipate seeing out of the past 10 years that ESO has been around.
Hmm.
I think at that point, what's the point as me as a veteran player to continue playing the game? I know what to do already.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
beating players who are objectively worse at than me, or I'm stalemating with people who are the same skill level or better.
Absolutely. And I just feel like with Vengeance, I feel like it's just, I don't know what's to learn out of it if it's just it feels like Vengeance wants to be how they made the commercials. Just 50 on
Yes,
50, just hey, let's go take this castle. But like
everybody's
I'm
running
sorry that we
20%
took
speed.
PvP how you thought it was gonna be and we transformed it into something else. But like you can't be
Yeah.
mad at the player base for doing that. Like we
I definitely feel like it is a punishment in a lot of ways. I'm glad you're saying that because I feel like they couldn't balance their own game and we're kind of getting punished for it
mm-hmm.
in a way. Like, they really subclassing. I think everybody said that was a terrible decision. And here we are, they can't balance anything. Like most of the PvE skill lines are dead. And now PvP, you have Assassination, Animal Companions, plus one other, and welcome to your build.
Yeah, like for me, I feel like if Cyrodiil's what you really wanted us to do was take castles and do all this, I think you would have revamped the map and maybe kept it more fresh. But you haven't added nothing to the map of Cyrodiil besides the
Right,
towns. Like if you want me to go
right,
take a
exactly.
castle, I don't want to take Farrago for the last 12 years. Like give me
Yeah,
something else.
I'm definitely glad I've not been a serial dealer because I've definitely heard a lot of PvPers complaining about it's the same thing over and over again, and that's definitely what kept me out of it for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. I think they need to add more diversity to how keeps are taken to begin with. I
Yes.
think that would be really interesting, or adding portals or something. I don't know. I'm not a serial dealer. I don't have the best suggestions for it, but it is really boring when nothing's happening. At
Absolutely.
least in IC, you can earn Telvar.
Yeah.
What do you do? PV door for 2 hours until you realize to quit? That sucks.
And that's another topic that I wanted to touch on. It's like what's the reward for coming into PvP? Like what's the hey, this is the shiny thing you get for coming to PvP. I feel like there's nothing there. Like even the PvPers, we have to leave PvP to go get these sets that we're gonna bring back over here.
Right. Well, honestly, I feel like PvP is an MLM in that you earn AP to go sell people rallying cry
Yeah.
to get them into PvP to drive up demand
Like I'm
so
sorry,
you can get more AP.
how many times am I gonna buy the militant order motif?
I exactly. I mean, God, there needs to be a lot more unique rewards. So if I'm being honest, I was a really hardcore Old Republic ranked player.
Hmm.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, and you had a lot of really cool, unique cosmetics from that, from being really good at the game. Again, much larger topic for a different video. The game does not reward you for being good at the game. In fact, you're punished through one patch to the next by lowering the ceiling, raising the floor.
Absolutely.
Again, entirely different video. But there's no rewards. I mean, like, we need. Honestly, I hate the idea of skill styles because it's a lazy implementation to milk the game.
Hmm.
But honestly, start with skill styles. Give us unique skill styles for difficult accomplishments in PvP. Not something like kill 50 dudes in an arena or 100 dudes
Yeah.
in an icy arena. Like, there's an achievement for that. Like, no. Give us something like you have reached this rank or you have done this other thing in PvP.
Hmm.
Right?
The only thing that seems to be worth grinding for in PvP is getting Imp. And let's be honest, a lot of people are not going to step into Cyrodiil and become Emperor.
No. And if you do, honestly, it's been watered down to an accomplishment of, okay, were you unemployed for a month and had nothing better to do?
Exactly. So
I
like,
hate to say it, but it lost meaning and it sucks.
like, what is the? Why would I want to go into PvP if I'm just gonna? If we already touched on the toxicity. If I already feel like I'm behind,
Yeah.
it's like, what is there? I'm gonna get the cool dye that's black, but the other black is darker that I can get in PvE.
Yeah, they just got us the apotheosis one, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's like we don't have no skins that we get from PvP. There's not real. There's nothing there.
No, and in fact, you spend a lot of money PvPing, whether it's testing gear,
Hmm.
whether it's the potions, the food, the glyphs. Like, you lose money PvPing. If I PvP too long, I have to go back to PvE to make money,
Hmm.
and that should not be the case. You should be able to make money PvPing. I mean, I guess that's where IC comes in, and that's why I IC personally.
Hmm.
But Cyrodiil, what's the point?
So
Ultimately, what do you get?
as a
Yeah,
PvEer, because that's where you've practically came from. So like, what
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Do you feel like stuff switches as fast as it does from PvP, like gear wise and all this, or do you feel like once you kind of got a solid PvE build, you're good for a couple patches, like you can get by?
So yeah, I mean, so in recent patches, yes, that is the case. We did have one huge detriment. So there's an AOE set that we use called Azure Blight because of the way that beam just got changed, the Arcanist beam. That is now a dead set, but it was alive for many patches. So I think in PvE, yeah, you can definitely keep sets alive for a few patches in a row, and it's completely okay. In PvP, I have felt that is not always the case for sure. And kind of touching on those reward differences again, real quick. I mean, like, you get the Godslayer title from doing the VSS trifecta.
Yep.
You get the mount. You get all these different mounts, titles, and skins from these hard modes. But we do need more skins. We need more mounts. We need all these things from PvP, I think, to make it more appealing to people, even
Like,
PvPers.
like you could at least give us like a mount that has, like, I don't know, like a giant banner on the back of it, something.
Yeah. That'd be so sick, actually. Having Covenant banner if you're a
Yes,
player.
like give us something that represents, hey, this guy plays PvP.
Right, like, honestly, that I think that power fantasy, feeling like a general, like, when you're 12 years old playing a game, you're PvP, and you see your rank, and it's just like lieutenant. I'm like, that's a cool ass feeling, if I'm being honest. Why don't we have that?
Exactly.
Why
It's just
what's a like, I know, like, lore wise, but like, what's a prefect? Honestly, why do we have 50 ranks to get there? Why am I not rewarded a single time? Why do all of these titles suck? Even like to have Grand Overlord,
yeah,
like,
and
that's okay at the very end of it, really?
yeah, and it's like they don't make that leveling process easy at all either. Like you're gonna be playing that character for a while if you want
Ugh.
to level up in PvP.
Long time, long time, long time. I think in PvP, I'm going to use my English professor type metaphor here. When we're evaluating student essays, it's people's soul that they put into it. It's not just saying, do this math problem, you're right or wrong. In PvP, you're making decisions, you're using your intellect, you're doing a whole bunch of math together, and you're basically putting something together that you think will be fun for you. And it's really devastating when you go into PvP and you get destroyed by people, you get teabagged by people. Even if you just lose, that's devastating because somebody is better than you, is a lot of the language that gets internalized. And so I think because there's a lot of heart put into the builds, I think it's really easy for people to get discouraged. And in PvE, you are handed the objective truth. You are going to be running these sets with these skill lines because it hits the highest. If you hit lower, it's not a reflection of your character and your decisions. It's a reflection of, okay, well, did you do the buttons in the right order?
Yeah,
You see what I mean? Like, it's not a reflection of, yeah, exactly. So I think for me, I think it's a lot of the conversations I have with people is like, okay, it's going to be difficult. you're going to be learning a lot as you're building. It's not a reflection that you're a bad player. This is literally you learning. And that's a lot of, well, that's really difficult for a lot of people to hear, that they're going to be bad at something at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to learn to be smarter about it. That's really difficult to process for people.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's either PVE, PvP. We all have rotations, but like PVE, I feel like you have people there that are going to support you. You have your healers who are back there to make
Yeah.
sure, hey, if you're standing in red and you forget to put something up, they got you. Your tank has got everybody
Right.
occupied. Like here, like not only are you having to learn a whole new rotation, but you also worry about people that are also hitting you.
Right.
So there's just a lot of
You also
information thrown at you at one time. It's like even I had to turn my buff tracker, not the buff tracker, but the
trend arrow?
status bar on top of the.
Oh yeah.
I had to turn mine off. Like it would just the line would get so long. I'm like I can't keep track of this anymore. So I only keep my debuffs on now.
Yeah, good. As you as you should.
I was like, this is like sensory overload. But like what you were saying, like so about like the builds and stuff. So how do you feel about the copy and pasting that we do, that's in this community a lot?
It's like a very general guideline, so then any player listening can make their own build. So there are like a lot of sets out there that are just better or worse than others, and a lot of gatekeepers will try to stop you from knowing which ones are better or worse. But ultimately, kind of what I hinted at earlier, most sets are okay for PvP. What I'd recommend to anybody who wants to start making your own build is pick one set that gives you a good offensive bonus that you can keep on one bar, and one 5P set that gives you some really good defensive bonuses that you can have on the back bar. So for me, I personally run something like Null Arca that gives me damage. You could run something like Deadly that gives you damage. So when I'm on my offensive bar, you can go ahead and do as much damage as possible. But then when you're on the back bar, I would definitely recommend running Rallying Cry to give you a lot of critical resistance. If you basically just split it in terms of I need half of my setup to be damage and half of my setup to be defensive, that's going to give you a very strong baseline. And when in doubt, honestly, just stack more defensive than you think you should. You're not going to really learn much if you're always dead. So even if you need to run 2 tank sets, honestly, just do it. Like, who cares at the end of the day? When you're learning the PvP, again, play more defensive. You're going to learn a lot more than if you try to go ganking.
Absolutely. I think I've always been a firm believer. Hey, start super tanky and then slowly start taking that defense away, adding a little bit more offensively, and then go from there. Like you said, even when like the sets of having an offensive set, and a defense set is the same mindset I've always had with with skills. Like you should have a defensive bar skill line on your back bar. You should have offense on the front bar. When you start trying to put skills on each bar, it becomes a lot more confusing. I've done it. I've tried putting my deep fissure on the back bar a lot of times. I liked it for the time, but like yeah, this is too hard to maintain.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of brings me to the point of like the amount of chaos that people perceive in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like if you've taken Algebra 1 and then all of a sudden you're thrown in the Calculus 1 class. When the professor's saying, you know, calculate the derivative, and then you're learning to do that, and then they're saying, okay, now do it backwards, take the integral. I
Yep.
think a lot of that can be jarring, but ultimately, you know, just like actual calculus, if you just break it down, it's not too bad. And so there's definitely like a lot of ways you can make the game simpler. Without shamelessly plugging my own videos, I do have a lot of ways of explaining how to make the game simple and to break it down into its core fundamentals. But ultimately, also, I would recommend if you're somebody who has sensory issues or are otherwise overwhelmed with lots of flashing colors or high amounts of movement or sound, I recommend basically turning off your game's volume almost completely, except for sound effects, and maybe keep that up just a bit.
Mm.
There's a lot of times that the game wants to make you feel really immersed with things like screen shake or other factors like that, or like the zoomed in FOV. But if you simplify a lot of the game's effects, it makes the game really easy to understand, and you can actually hear the Nightblade's in cap come out, for example, or their bow proc, or you hear a Dawnbreaker or anything like that. So simplify the game settings to the point of only seeing what you need to know. I think a lot of players also throw in a lot of add-ons onto their list, and they clog up their screen because they see top-end players, whether it's PvE or PvP, using lots of add-ons. Make your screen look clean. You don't need to see every bit of information available to you. That's not going to make you better, and in fact, that's going to confuse you more and keep you worse.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer. I'm actually a testament. I used to like, oh, let me put all these add-ons because I just switched to PC. I'm like, oh, these are cool. This is why we came over here. But then it's just like, yeah, this is sensory overload. Like, not only do you have the combat text that's popping up, you have like these healing numbers that are like going past your screen. They all have icons on it. Yeah, just keep it. I
Right.
mean, keep it simple, stupid. That's all it's got to be.
Right, exactly. The simpler you keep it, the easier it'll be. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself. And I think it's what a
Yes.
lot of people do. People really overcomplicate PvP.
Mm-hmm.
But at its core, it's you're trying to kill them, and then when you're not, you're trying to survive. That's
Yep.
all it is.
People overcomplicate it. Like, it could be a whole nother video about how subclassing became even more like confusing on
Yes.
where to start from. But if y'all want that
100%.
video, we can make one. But you gotta let us know if y'all want that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you have anything else you want to add to this, Mr. Ryder?
I do, but we'd be here all night, and we could definitely do this again to cover a lot more topics for sure.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come make this with me, and hopefully we help some people out. That's the main goal. Whether it's either, hopefully it's even just one person. If it's one person, I feel like we did our job here.
I appreciate that, True. And everybody, make sure you like subscribe to True. He puts out a lot of great content. He works really hard on it. He's always trying to improve. So let him know in the comments down below what you enjoyed about his videos. Thanks for having me on,
I
dude. I
appreciate it,
really
man.
appreciate that.
Hey, make sure y'all go check Ryder out. I mean, this is the newest kid on the block, man. This dude has blown up like an overnight sensation. So we might as well go ahead and keep the hype train going. I will
I
drop
appreciate that.
his stuff in the link in the description below. Go follow your boy. And yeah, we're gonna catch y'all on the next one.
All right, cool. Thanks, Hybrid. I'll see you guys later.
All right, peace out, y'all.